Am I the only one that didn't know how epic Prophet Muhammad's journeys were? Let me tell you all about them. His first expedition, the Hijra to Medina, was a daring escape that changed history. Then, the Battle of Badr, where faith triumphed against all odds. And who can forget the Treaty of Hudaybiyah? A masterclass in diplomacy. Each journey was a lesson in bravery, wisdom, and faith. Join us as we celebrate these monumental moments. Volume 5, Book 59, number 285, narrated by Abu Ishaq. Once, while I was sitting beside Zayd bin al-Arqam, he was asked, "How many Ghazwat did the Prophet undertake?" Zayd replied, 19. They said, "In how many Ghazwat did you join him?" He replied, 17. I asked, which of these was the first? He replied, Al-Ashira or Al-Ashiru. Volume 5, Book 59, number 286, narrated by Abdullah bin Mas'ud from Sa'd bin Mu'adh. Sa'd bin Mu'adh was an intimate friend of Umayyah bin Khalaf, and whenever Umayyah passed through Medina, he used to stay with Sa'd, and whenever Sa'd went to Mecca, he used to stay with Umayyah. When Allah's apostle arrived at Medina, Sa'd went to perform Umrah and stayed at Umayyah's home in Mecca. He said to Umayyah, "Tell me of a time when the mosque is empty, so that I may be able to perform tawaf around the Kaaba." So Umayyah went with him about midday. Abu Jahl met them and said, "O Abu Safwan, who is this man accompanying you?" He said, "He is Sa'd." Abu Jahl addressed Sa'd saying, "I see you wandering about safely in Mecca in spite of the fact that you have given shelter to the people who have changed their religion, that is became Muslims, and have claimed that you will help them and support them. By Allah, if you were not in the company of Abu Safwan, you would not be able to go your family safely." Sa'd, raising his voice, said to him, "By Allah, if you should stop me from doing this, that is performing tawaf, I would certainly prevent you from something which is more valuable for you, that is, your passage through Medina." On this Umayyah said to him, "O Sa'd, do not raise your voice before Abul Hakam, the chief of the people of the valley of Mecca." Sa'd said, "O Umayyah, stop that. By Allah, I have heard Allah's apostle predicting that the Muslim will kill you." Umayyah asked, "In Mecca?" Sa'd said, "I do not know." Umayyah was greatly scared by that news. When Umayyah returned to his family, he said to his wife, "O Safwan, don't you know what Sa'd told me?" She said, "What has he told you?" He replied, "He claims that Muhammad has informed them, that his companions, that they will kill me." I asked him, "In Mecca?" He replied, "I do not know." Then Umayyah added, "By Allah, I will never go out of Mecca." But when the day of the Ghazwa of Badr came, Abu Jahl called the people to war, saying, "Go and protect your caravan." But Umayyah disliked to go out of Mecca. Abu Jahl came to him and said, "O Abu Safwan, if the people see you staying behind though you are the chief of the people of the valley, then they will remain behind with you." Abu Jahl kept on urging him to go until he, that is Umayyah, said, "As you have forced me to change my mind, by Allah I will buy the best camel in Mecca." Then Umayyah said to his wife, "O Safwan, prepare what I need for the journey." She said to him, "O Abu Safwan, have you forgotten what your Yathribi brother told you?" He said, "No, but I do not want to go with them but for a short distance." So when Umayyah went out, he used to tie his camel wherever he camped. He kept on doing that till Allah caused him to be killed at Badr. Volume 5, Book 59, number 287, narrated by Ka'b bin Malik. I never failed to join Allah's apostle in any of his Ghazawat except in the Ghazwa of Tabuk. However, I did not take part in the Ghazwa of Badr, but none who failed to take part in it was blamed, for Allah's apostle had gone out to meet the caravans of Quraysh, but Allah caused them, that is Muslims, to meet their enemy unexpectedly, with no previous intention. Volume 5, Book 59, number 288, narrated by Ibn Mas'ud. I witnessed al-Miqdad bin al-Aswad in a scene which would have been dearer to me than anything had I been the hero of that scene. He, that is al-Miqdad, came to the Prophet while the Prophet was urging the Muslims to fight with the pagans. Al-Miqdad said, "We will not say as the people of Moses said, 'Go you and your Lord and fight you too.'" 5:27. "But we shall fight on your right and on your left and in front of you and behind you." I saw the face of the Prophet getting bright with happiness, for that saying delighted him. Volume 5, Book 59, number 289, narrated by Ibn Abbas. On the day of the Battle of Badr, the Prophet said, "O Allah, I appeal to you to fulfill your covenant and promise. O Allah, if your will is that none should worship you, then give victory to the pagans." Then Abu Bakr took hold of him by the hand and said, "This is sufficient for you." The Prophet came out saying, "Their multitude will be put to flight, and they will show their backs." 54.45. Volume 5, Book 59, number 290, narrated by Ibn Abbas. The believers who failed to join the Ghazwa of Badr and those who took part in it are not equal, in reward. Volume 5, Book 59, number 291, narrated by Al-Bara I and Ibn Umar were considered too young to take part in the Battle of Badr. Volume 5, Book 59, number 292, narrated by Al-Bara I and Ibn Umar, were considered too young to take part in the Battle of Badr, and the number of the emigrant warriors were over 60 men, and the Ansar were over 249. Volume 5, Book 59, number 293, narrated by Al-Bara. The companions of the Prophet Muhammad who took part in Badr told me that their number was that of Saul's, that is Talut's companions who crossed the river of Jordan with him, and they were over 310 men. By Allah, none crossed the river with him but a believer. See Quran 2, 249, Volume 5, Book 59, number 294, narrated by Al-Bara way. The companions of Muhammad used to say that the number of the warriors of Badr was the same as the number of Saul's companions who crossed the river of Jordan with him, and none crossed the river with him but a believer, and there were over 310 men. Volume 5, Book 59, number 295, narrated by Al-Bara as below, Hadith 295. Volume 5, Book 59, number 296, narrated by Al-Bara. We used to say that the warriors of Badr were over 310, as many as the companions of Saul who crossed the river with him, and none crossed the river with him but a believer. Volume 5, Book 59, number 297, narrated by Abdullah bin Mas'ud. The Prophet faced the Kaaba and invoked evil on some people of Quraysh, on Shaiba bin Rabia, Utbah bin Rabia, Al-Walid bin Utbah, and Abu Jahl bin Hisham. I bear witness by Allah that I saw them all dead, putrefied by the sun, as that day was a very hot day. Volume 5, Book 59, number 298, narrated by Abdullah, that he came across Abu Jahl while he was on the point of death on the day of Badr. Abu Jahl said, "You should not be proud that you have killed me, nor I am ashamed of being killed by my own folk." Volume 5, Book 59, number 299, narrated by Anas as below, Hadith 300. Volume 5, Book 59, number 300, narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, "Who will go and see what has happened to Abu Jahl?" Ibn Mas'ud went and found that the two sons of Afra had struck him fatally, and he was in his last breaths. Abdullah bin Mas'ud said, "Are you Abu Jahl?" and took him by the beard. Abu Jahl said, "Can there be a man superior to one you have killed, or one whom his own folk have killed?" Volume 5, Book 59, number 301, narrated by Anas. On the day of Badr, the Prophet said, "Who will go and see what has happened to Abu Jahl?" Ibn Mas'ud went and found that the two sons of Afra had struck him fatally. Abdullah bin Mas'ud got hold of his beard and said, "Are you Abu Jahl?" He replied, "Can there be a man more superior to one whom his own folk have killed, or you have killed?" Volume 5, Book 59, number 302, narrated by Anas bin Malik, as above Hadith 301. Volume 5, Book 59, number 303, narrated by Abdur Rahman bin Auf, the grandfather of Salih bin Ibrahim. The story of Badr, namely, the narration regarding the sons of Afra. Volume 5, Book 59, number 304, narrated by Abu Mishlaz, from Qais bin Ubad. Ali bin Abi Talib said, "I shall be the first man to kneel down before Allah, the Beneficent, to receive his judgment on the day of resurrection, in my favor." Qais bin Ubad also said, the following verse was revealed in their connection. These two opponents, believers and disbelievers, dispute with each other about their Lord. 22.19. Qais said that they were those who fought on the day of Badr, namely, Hamza, Ali, Ubaida or Abu Ubaida bin al-Harith, Shaiba bin Rabia, Utbah and Al-Wad bin Utbah. Volume 5, Book 59, number 305, narrated by Abu Dar. The following holy verse, these two opponents, believers and disbelievers, dispute with each other about their Lord, 22.19, was revealed concerning 6 men from Quraysh, namely Ali, Hamza, Ubaida bin al-Harith, Shaiba bin Rabia, Utbah bin Rabia, and Al-Walid bin Utbah. Volume 5, Book 59, number 306, narrated by Ali, the following holy verse. These two opponents, believers and disbelievers, dispute with each other about their Lord, 22.19, was revealed concerning us. Volume 5, Book 59, number 307, narrated by Qais bin Ubad. I heard Abu Dar swearing that these holy verses were revealed in connection with those 6 persons on the day of Badr. Volume 5, Book 59, number 308, narrated by Qais. I heard Abu Dar swearing that the following holy verse, these two opponents, believers and disbelievers, disputing with each other about their Lord, 22.19, was revealed concerning those men who fought on the day of Badr, namely, Hamza, Ali, Ubaida bin al-Harith, Utbah, and Shaiba, the two sons of Rabia, and Al-Walid bin Utbah. Volume 5, Book 59, number 309, narrated by Abu Ishaq. A man asked Al-Bara, and I was listening, "Did Ali take part in the Battle of Badr?" Al-Bara said yes. He even met his enemies in a duel and was clad in 2 armors, one over the other. Volume 5, Book 59, number 310, narrated by Abdur Rahman bin Auf. I had an agreement with Umayyah bin Khalaf that he would look after my relatives and property in Mecca, and I would look after his relatives and property in Medina. Abdurrahman then mentioned the killing of Umayyah and his son on the day of Badr, and Bilal said, "Woe to me if Umayyah remains safe, that is alive." Volume 5, Book 59, number 311. Narrated by Abdullah, the Prophet recited Surat an-Najm and then prostrated himself, and all who were with him prostrated too. But an old man took a handful of dust and touched his forehead with it, saying, "This is sufficient for me." Later on I saw him killed as an infidel. Narrated Urwa, the son of Az-Zubair. Az-Zubair had 3 scars caused by the sword, one of which was over his shoulder, and I used to insert my fingers in it. He received 2 of those wounds on the day of Badr, and 1 on the day of Al-Yarmouk. When Abdullah bin Zubair was killed, Abdul Malik bin Marwan said to me, "O Urwa, do you recognize the sword of Az-Zubair?" I said yes. He said, "What marks does it have?" I replied, "It has a dent in its sharp edge which was caused in it on the day of Badr." Abdul Malik said, "You are right, that is their swords, have dents because of clashing with the regiments of the enemies." Then Abdul Malik returned that sword to me, that is Urwa. Hisham, Urwa's son, said, "We estimated the price of the sword as 3,000 dinars, and after that it was taken by one of us, that is the inheritors, and I wish I could have had it." Volume 5, Book 59, number 312, narrated by Hisham. That his father said, "The sword of Az-Zubair was decorated with silver." Hisham added, "The sword of Urwa was also decorated with silver." Volume 5, Book 59, number 313, narrated by Urwa. On the day of the Battle of Al-Yarmouk, the companions of Allah's apostle said to Az-Zubair, "Will you attack the enemy so that we shall attack them with you?" Az-Zubair replied, "If I attack them, you people would not support me." They said, "No, we will support you." So Az-Zubair attacked them, that is Byzantine, and pierced through their lines and went beyond them, and none of his companions was with him. Then he returned, and the enemy got hold of the bridle of his horse, and struck him 2 blows, with the sword, on his shoulder. Between these 2 wounds there was a scar caused by a blow he had received on the day of Badr, battle. When I was a child I used to play with those scars by putting my fingers in them. On that day, my brother, Abdullah bin Az-Zubair, was also with him, and he was 10 years old. Az-Zubair had carried him on a horse and led him to the care of some men. Volume 5, Book 59, number 314, narrated by Abu Talha. On the day of Badr, the Prophet ordered that the corpses of 24 leaders of Quraysh should be thrown into one of the dirty, dry wells of Badr. It was a habit of the Prophet that whenever he conquered some people, he used to stay at the battlefield for 3 nights. So on the 3rd day of the Battle of Badr, he ordered that his she-camel be saddled, then he set out, and his companions followed him, saying among themselves, "Definitely he, that is the Prophet, is proceeding for some great purpose." When he halted at the edge of the well, he addressed the corpses of the Quraysh infidels by their names and their fathers' names. "O so-and-so, son of so-and-so, and O so-and-so, son of so-and-so, would it have pleased you if you had obeyed Allah and His Apostle? We have found true what our Lord promised us. Have you too found true what your Lord promised you?" Umar said, "O Allah's Apostle, you are speaking to bodies that have no souls." Allah's Apostle said, "By him in whose hand Muhammad's soul is, you do not hear what I say better than they do." Qatada said, "Allah brought them to life again to let them hear him, to reprimand them and slight them and take revenge over them and cause them to feel remorseful and regretful." Volume 5, Book 59, number 315, narrated by Ibn Abbas regarding the statement of Allah, "Those who have changed Allah's blessings for disbelief." 14.28. The people meant here by Allah are the infidels of Quraysh. Ammar, a sub-narrator, said, "Those are the infidels of Quraysh, and Muhammad is Allah's blessing," regarding Allah's statement, "and have led their people into the house of destruction." 14.29. Ibn Abbas said, "It means the fire they will suffer from after their death on the day of Badr." Volume 5, Book 59, number 316, narrated by Hisham's father. It was mentioned before Aisha that Ibn Umar attributed the following statement to the Prophet: "The dead person is punished in the grave because of the crying and lamentation of his family." On that, Aisha said, "But Allah's Apostle said, the dead person is punished for his crimes and sins while his family cry over him then." She added, "And this is similar to the statement of Allah's Apostle when he stood by the edge of the well which contained the corpses of the pagans killed at Badr, 'They hear what I say.' She added, 'But he said now they know very well what I used to tell them was the truth.'" Aisha then recited, "You cannot make the dead hear," 30.52, "and you cannot make those who are in their graves hear you." 35.22, that is, when they had taken their places in the hell fire. Volume 5, Book 59, number 317, narrated by Ibn Umar. The Prophet stood at the well of Badr, which contained the corpses of the pagans, and said, "Have you found true what your Lord promised you?" Then he further said, "They now hear what I say." This was mentioned before Aisha, and she said, "But the Prophet